Hey y'all, what's up? My name is Avery, and today I'm going to be sharing with y'all some amazing romance novels. I don't know if all of them are categorized as romance books, but they have some pretty amazing romance storylines in these books. So yes, since Valentine's Day is just around the corner in just a couple days, I thought why not recommend some romance books to those single peoples out there who are spending their Valentine's Day maybe alone like me and just want to spend the day reading a good romance book. So let's jump on into my recommendations. The first book that I'm going to recommend to y'all is actually my most current read, and that is Withering Hope by Layla Hagen. So, fun fact also, if you want to get this book in e-reader format, I believe it is still free on Amazon, last time I checked, and that's how I got this book. It is a freebie on Amazon. It's a free book, so why not? I was very hesitant going into this book because I'm very hesitant into all the freebie Amazon novels that I get, just because a lot of the times they're mediocre in my opinion, and I have to say this was not the case for this book. At the beginning, I was very unsure about how I felt about it because it was really slow in the beginning, but at the end, I can accurately say that I was crying at the end of this book. It got me, it pulled on my heartstrings. So this book follows our two main characters, first of which is Amy, and she is on a private plane that is her soon-to-be husband's to meet her husband in their wedding destination that they are getting married at. And the pilot for this plane has worked for her soon-to-be husband for a while now. He is like their chauffeur. He drives Amy around as well as flies the private plane for them. But on the way to their journey to try and get to the wedding destination, their plane crashes in the Amazon forest in Brazil, and it is their story trying to survive together in this forest, and Amy realizing what true love actually is and maybe evidently falling for Tristan in the end. Tristan is the pilot. I don't know if I even said his name. I'm sorry, Tristan is the pilot. At first, I was like, I don't condone cheating. I don't like cheating. But there were points in the story where Amy came to the realization of what is love? Like, am I actually in love with my fiance? Am I in love with this man right here? She goes back and forth trying to deal with her guilt and her feelings. By the end, it felt like my heart was like torn out of my chest, and it got to me. It touched me a lot. The next book I have is 5 Ways to Fall by K.A. Tucker. This was actually on my favorites for 2017 video, and I believe it was my favorite romance novel that I read last year, and I thoroughly encourage people to read this book. It is an adult book. In all but one of these books on this list, there's mature content. So the last book had mature content. This one has mature content as well. This book basically follows the story of Reese, and she ends up going to Cancun or somewhere in Mexico to basically go on vacation to relieve herself and feel free because her husband just cheated on her and they filed a divorce. And so she has all of these plans to go work for her uncle's law firm company to be a paralegal for them, and she's on this vacation just to basically have a vacation and take a break and feel a little bit free before she has to go to this new job. And while she is in Cancun, this man named Ben is there, and they almost have a one-night stand, but due to some things they don't, which you will know when you read the book. And so she is mortified by what happened, totally embarrassed about what happened, and she shows up to her first day at work at her uncle's law firm, and Ben actually got a new job there himself. So they have to deal with the awkwardness as well as the tension, the angst. If you didn't know, I love angst in books. It is definitely here. You have that sexual tension as well, and this was a really good book. Really good book. Really good book. The next book that I have is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I've actually had a bunch of my friends read this book from my recommendation, and I am very glad. Every single person that I've recommended this book to has loved it and has cried reading it. I love Colleen Hoover's books, and this book is so good. It follows our main character named Lily, who just moved to Boston to open up her own flower shop that she owns and runs herself, and while she's in Boston, she evidently meets this neurosurgeon named Ryle, and things spark between them and things get heated and they start a relationship. But in the midst of their relationship, they do have some struggles and some downward points. And in the midst of her trying to develop this relationship with Ryle, old feelings come to surface about her first love named Atlas that she had when she was a teenager. And Atlas shows up in Boston one day and she sees him and things go from there. Lily kept a diary when she was in high school, so you get to read excerpts from that, from her first love with Atlas. There's also a trigger warning in this book for abuse. It is such a gut-wrenching story. It is beautiful. I think it's an amazing romance story. Amazing story overall. It touched me on such a deep level. I cried reading this book. I recommend it to anyone, like literally anyone. It is, even if you're not like big into romance, like this is just a good story overall. We do have mature content, so if you're not into that, don't read this book, but it is just a fantastic story and I loved it and all my friends have loved it, so I recommend it. The next book I have is another recent read, and that is Geek Arella by Ashley Poston. So I just recently read this book and absolutely fell in love with it. This is a YA contemporary novel. My heart was soaring the entire time I was reading this book. Because I love fairy tale retellings. I love any kind of retelling. If you didn't know, I love my retellings. I read so many of them. And Cinderella is one of my favorite fairy tales of all time. And if you add fandom into it, that just makes it all the much better. And if you did not know what the story is about, we follow our main character named Elle, and she lives with her stepmother and her two stepsisters, and her father and mother evidently are not living anymore, and her father actually created this con, kind of like Comic-Con. It's called xoxo. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a con, but he created it mostly in dedication for his love for Starfield, which is this TV show much like Star Wars and Star Trek, and Elle has been obsessed with it ever since she was a kid, and they are rebooting the TV show and making a movie about it. And turns out this very like famous guy in their social media platform who's very famous for other works, other TV shows out there. Sorry, my hat itches. His name is Darian, and he's taking on the role of the main character in this movie reboot of Starfield, and Elle isn't very happy about it. She kind of starts up this conversation texting someone who's anonymous. She doesn't know who this person is, but turns out it's actually Darian. Evidently, he's just a giant Starfield geek, but she thinks he's just in it for the fame aspect and doesn't really love Starfield. While both of them are both communicating to each other, they don't know who they are. It is so cute. I couldn't get enough of it. I wish we had like a second book. I would love a second book. I would love a second book to this. So if you're into like a cutesy little contemporary that you could just fly through, I think I read it in 2 days. It's like very cute YA contemporary romance. If you want that, go for it. I loved it. The last romance book that I'm going to be talking to y'all about today is Make Me Burn by Tiffany Roberts. If y'all didn't know, the author for this book, Tiffany Roberts, is actually a wife and husband duo, which I think is so cute. This is a fantasy romance novel, and I love my fantasy romance novels. I love them so much. And basically, this is a fantasy land where demons exist and people have powers and all that sorts of stuff. So we follow our main character called Morthanion. I think that's how you pronounce it. It starts with an M. But he is a demon. He has wings, he has horns, he has claws, and he is actually a really dangerous demon, so these very powerful mages end up stripping his power and sending him to an island where no magic exists, because every person that is put on that island is stripped of their magic. So he has to live with not having any of his powers anymore. While he is on that island, he becomes entranced with this woman named Arya, who evidently does have powers, and he's very curious as to why. And Arya basically has to deal with her inner thoughts, whether she wants to be with a man like him. And oh my word, this book. If you're into the steamy romance, this is it. It has that steam to it. Huh. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. and we have the angst, we have the steamy times, we have the love that I love. This is part of a companion series. I have yet to read the rest of the books because I don't know if these two are going to be present as maybe side characters in the other books. Hopefully there are. I would love to find out what happens to them after this book takes place. If you're into fantasy romance books, I totally recommend this book. I believe I got it on Amazon for an ebook for maybe $1.99. So there you have it. Those are some romance recommendations for y'all. I love my romance books, so I do not find it hard at all to recommend some to y'all. But if you want some more recommendations, don't be shy to hit me up in the comments below and ask me. I would love to recommend some romance books because I love my romance books. Also, let me know down in the comments below if you have read any of these books. I would love to talk about them with you. Anyways, thank y'all so much for watching, and I will see y'all soon with a new video. Bye!